Good morning and happy Monday. It's time for another Mindful Play Monday Live. And today we have another super quick and easy setup for you, what is going to help us tune in to some of our five senses and also connect with our feelings, better express ourselves, and also just have a lot of fun with some music and some art. So for today, we're going to be focusing on some art expression, kind of expressing ourselves through different art mediums while listening to music. So this is an oldie but a goodie and one that we love to do. I shared this actually probably our first or second, maybe our third Mindful Play Monday Live ever just a few years ago, but I felt like today was a good day to revisit it because it is such a useful and practical activity that you can do at home with your children as well as in a classroom setting with a bunch of students, and it's really fun to compare and connect with the different artwork pieces that are created from the output of this activity. So the only things that you need are some paper. Now I'm just using regular printer paper because that's what I have on hand. You could use watercolor paper if you have it. You could also cut your pages in half to focus on a smaller surface area, especially for the younger ones that are in a hurry to kind of fill the whole page. Having a smaller page might be a nice thing to have on hand. You could also use construction paper, but I will say with the construction paper, we are going to be using watercolors. So sometimes that gets a little tacky as they're painting along, and that could get a little difficult to use with the construction paper. So watercolor paper, cardstock, or just regular printer paper, which is what I have today. And we are using some watercolor paints. You don't have to use watercolor. I just really like how the watercolors flow together really nicely across the page because we're going to be listening to music while we are painting and expressing to connect with the different beats and the different instruments that you hear in the musical pieces. So it's nice to use the watercolors to kind of have them flow across the page. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Of course, you don't have to use watercolors if you don't have them. I've also got some crayons and markers. You could even use paint sticks if you prefer. And it is going to be totally free. So anything that they want to create, there are no rules, there are no guidelines. However the music makes them feel is what they're going to create. So here's a quick piece that we just did this morning, listening to some music. And the reason we're listening to music while doing this is it's going to really help us tune in to our senses of hearing, sight, and touch, that tactile with the different art expressions and the different art materials. So I am going to play just a few short pieces to show you how to set this up and do. However, when I've done this in the past, of course, music is always copyrighted, so I am not going to play very much of the music, but of course, in your classroom at home, you can play it all day long if you want. You can play it as long as you like. Just for time's sake this morning and for copyright purposes, we will just be playing short clips. But it is a good idea to have a variety of music. So looking at classical music, looking at jazz music, looking at pop or hip hop music. And I do prefer to encourage using music that is instrumental. So no vocals, no lyrics, because the lyrics, of course, are going to change our attitude and our moods about those musical pieces, right? And we just want to tune into the instruments and the music and how it makes us feel. So I've got a few pieces pulled up for you, and you can of course just Google them, play them on your regular playlist, or just look something up on YouTube. And let me angle you down here so you can kind of see what we're doing. So we've got our watercolor paints here, crayons, markers, and I've got my paintbrush here. So as you're starting this with your students or your little ones at home, you're just going to tell them, hey, we're going to listen to some music today. And I've got a few different musical pieces that I want you to listen to. There's no rules, there's no guidelines. You can use any color that you want. You can use paint, markers, crayons, whatever you have on hand. And I just want you to draw or paint or portray on the paper what you feel or what you hear with the music. So this is a really fun activity to kind of tune into our creative side as well as our feelings. And then you can go back and look at the art pieces that they create and say, how did that make you feel? Is that a song that you enjoyed? Would you like to hear it again? And go through that way. So starting off, let me make sure my volume is up. It might be kind of loud. Let's see. Maybe not loud enough. So we've got some simple jazz. How does that make you feel? Jazz always makes me turn to cool colors for some reason. Of course, there are no rules. You don't have to use cool colors. But I'm going to do some blue waves and kind of move along to the music. Encourage your students to feel the beats. Again, no rules, whatever they would like to draw. If they want to do an actual drawing and not just like squiggles or marks, that's fine too. You hear how the piano is kind of moving back and forth. And then as the music changes, you might encourage them to pick another color or a different medium. I'm going to do a little bit of purple there. I haven't used my watercolors in a while, so they're pretty dry. All right, so I'm going to stop that song. So you can see as the music is playing, you can change your mode of art tool. So we're using watercolors, you could use markers, crayons. And as the beats change, as the chorus changes in the song, you can move and change with your artwork as well. Now, if you want to, you can then have that piece saved. Of course, play the music longer than I did, but for copyright issues, we're not going to play it any longer on today's live. But you can either save that as your first song, or you can add to it throughout. So I'm just going to keep adding to this and we'll see what we come up with. The next piece I'm going to play is quite a bit different. Again, all instrumental, no vocals, because I don't want to have the lyrics distracting from the mood and the feeling of connecting with the music. So I'm going to clean my brush really quickly. And now I think I might switch to some crayons and let's see what we have next. So listening to our second piece now, I'm going to keep adding to this one. You can of course start a new piece. Check this one out. So this one's a lot harder rock instead of that soft jazz. And to me, that's sharper lines, kind of rocking out there. Again, you could draw an actual picture if you want. I think I might do a little bit of a darker color. Feel the music, move with the music, and continue decorating your piece. So I'm going to pause right there. You can see how the change in music, I have a different kind of lines there, the harder lines with the hard rock music. I'm going to continue adding and listen to another piece here. Ooh, this is more like piano. So to me, this is like slow. Maybe some swirlies. You can hear how the piano is going up and down. And you can talk about different elements of music, becoming louder, softer, the different instruments that you hear. So it's kind of a fun little tutorial in music as well. Looking at music notes. So this makes me think of little swirlies. You can hear how it's picking up a little bit. So I'm going to pause it there. Again, if you just joined us, we are listening to some music this morning and we're using it to help tune in to our emotions and our feelings and also express ourselves based on the music as it is progressing. We used some crayons, we also have some markers here and some watercolor paints. So we are continuing on. Now if you're doing this activity at home or in the classroom, you of course can play those music clips a lot longer than we are today. Just for time's sake and copyright issues, we're just doing short little bits of the music, but you can just look up any type of music that you're interested in sharing with your students or your children. And again, look for the instrumental version so that they are not distracted by the lyrics. We'll do one more. Let's see how this makes us feel. And here there's like an electric guitar in there. Encourage them to kind of dance around. Ooh, and you can hear the different changes in the instruments and in the pace and in the tone. This song is making me feel kind of warm and sunny, maybe a little beachy, so I'm going to add some yellow. And this is just a really relaxing kind of mood booster. Ooh, you can hear that electric guitar again. See if you can help identify the different instruments of the song. So I'm gonna pause it there. I really like that one. So you can see there is no right or wrong answer. We had 4 different songs, and I have 4 different types of kind of drawing or doodling all over the page, keeping in time with the music. You could do 1 piece per song. You could do 1 piece for the whole activity and just keep adding to it, layering it, using different modes of art materials. So like watercolors, you could use paint sticks as well. If you are using the watercolor paper, it's really nice because then instead of just sticking to the page, it can kind of move around the page and you can blend and mix those colors as well. Just a super simple, quick setup for today. We have been using music a lot as a kind of therapeutic tool. So if you notice that your little ones are fighting in the car, turn on some music. If you see that someone's having trouble focusing on their homework, turn on some instrumental classical music. Turn on some music. So that's kind of our go-to response to change their moods and attitudes, kind of lift our spirits on our low days, and also help us tune in and express ourselves. Then you can refer back to those pieces and say, wow, I noticed you did some kind of swirlies here. Look at those straight pokey lines. How did you feel when you heard that song? And really look at the different feelings and emotions that are tied to the music that we listen to and how our moods can change and be affected by what we are listening to as well. So just a quick and fun activity. Again, you can look up any song, any type of music will work, whatever your family prefers. Again, just keeping it without lyrics or focused on instrumental so that they can really tune in and interpret that piece however best suits them versus kind of the lyrics telling them how to feel about the song. So a super fun, quick way to tune in with our artistic side, listen to some good tunes, connect with the music that we are listening to, and just a friendly reminder that if you're having a rough day, turn on some music. If you noticed that your little ones are having a rough day, turn on some music. You can ask them if they have a favorite song you would like to play and kind of work through that way and talk about how those songs make us feel. Have a great rest of your week. We'll be back with another Mindful Play Monday Live next week, where we share in under 10 minutes or less some quick and mindful activities to connect with each other and ourselves, and have a great rest of your week. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.